You cannot be in that environment in D.C. where everywhere you walk, somebody basically wants to pick up your books for you and wants to get you in a car and give you a phone so you can call people and drive you around. You cannot have your own huge friggin' security system where you're insulated from everything, and this whole system of people who work for you that wait on you hand and foot, all these free dinners and everything else, and absorb that for years and keep your same mentality. It's impossible.
Yeah, we will never take our government back as long as we don't have term limits. That's the only thing that we can. Well, I don't care who we elect.
The one thing
once they get there, they're going to be in there for a term.
And I agree with you, because you got to look at the system. I don't know if the answer is 4 years or 6 years, or maybe 1 term for Senate, 2 terms for Senate.
The one thing I have, the problem that I have with that is, all right, first, I don't want anybody to spend a lifetime up there either, okay? But you don't spend 1 term and then get retirement for the rest of your life either.
Right. Because the thing is that
they need to live like the rest of us.
Exactly.
It's just a
once your job ends, so does your paycheck.
And that's the other thing, is they should be encouraged to, once they get out, to actually pick up a trade, right? Continue on and get a trade and work for a living.
Well, they should have done something before they got it.
Would you ever consider taking a pay cut? Like, I was reading, my cousin got me, it's a really good book. Yeah, read it. The founding fathers were talking about, like Washington didn't get a paycheck. Now, what is it?
But Benjamin Franklin actually suggested that.
On borrowed money.
Yeah,
I mean, if you cut the salary down to like $27,000 a year, which is the average American makes, you have to take away all that retirement, all that garbage. They stay in D.C. I think a month a year at most. I mean, in Texas they meet like once every 2 years. You gotta have like a life, like a real job. I mean, they get up there, you can't tell them don't do anything. I mean, that's all they want to do stuff and screw everything up every time they touch it. But if you cut the pay down to get people that actually want to serve in public office and not just make a lot of money, you might get some decent people.
The amount of pay that an average congressman gets paid, actually just a new congressman gets paid, is more money than I can imagine ever making in my regular job.
Oh, yeah, it's like
so you can even tell me, would I be willing to take that job in half that pay? I would say yes, because specifically, I would never see.
What I wanted to do.
And no, I'm sorry.
What I wanted to do is build barracks, so that when they're in Washington, they can live in the barracks. Look, I did it for 22 years.
Yeah.
They can do it for a day.
Look, I like Ron Paul and all, but I don't know if I want to be hearing him snoring next time.
Then you'll spend less time in D.C. That's the point.
I think another thing that
She lies.
this group really concerns
You never built a barracks.
is the 10th Amendment.
Lived in, not built.
Yeah, and I think that's going to bring up a lot of our groups.
I hate that stupid.
All the Tea Party organizations, they all believe in the 10th Amendment. And I think if every state went with the 10th Amendment, right now I think there's like 38 states that are pushing it. And I think that'll put a little squeeze on the federal government.
I think also when we communicate about like 9th and 10th Amendments to try to limit what the federal government does, it's important not to word it as, because that's how they did it back in the day and it worked great for us. Because the thing is that now you're talking about an ideal, it's hard for people to understand. I think what needs to be communicated is that, look at, when you have the federal government do everything, it's too much. I mean, think about everything that every agency in the government just decided today. Every legislature and his whatever agency or program he's pushing did today. You can't keep up with the corruption. You really can't. It's too big. When you look at Bush and Obama and some of the things that they're in charge of, do you really think that they knew or they know every day what their people that are working under them in these departments are doing any given day? You can't.
Could you provide us with...
It is impossible. So I think that needs to be worded that way. Is that the reason, and also you can't affect it. You have to march all the way to D.C. to get somebody's attention. So some of these things need to be brought down to the communities as best as possible, and it needs to be worded because therefore you can affect it. It's not just an idea of the founding fathers had it right, because I've read their history and they had things right, a lot more right than our guys did. But they had faults too. You have to, and everybody already hears all these things, I know. But, and we all read the books, right? But we can word it as, look at what's happening now. You can't protest or write your congressman about some of these programs and expect immediate change or immediate response, because it's so big that they can't they're in charge of a leviathan that they have no control over because it's grown so huge. And it's grown too unwieldy. We need to bring these back closer to where the people can affect it to find out whether or not that's the best program for the community, is not for the federal government, because it is running amok. Because again, it's the crazy locomotive flaming with no conductor. No one's in charge of this thing when it reaches this size.
I think
How long,
Yes, sir.
you provide us with proof that you're a U.S. citizen?
Yes, I can.
Oh, wow.
How long will it take to stop that train, in your opinion?
I
One
think,
term,
I
two
don't know,
terms?
actually, probably 2 generations.
Okay.
And the reason, I know people are like 2 generations, why that? You need to have politicians who believe in these values in your local and city governments. That's the first thing.
You need your citizens to be educated like they used to be educated when I was growing up. People that know what the government stood for, people who knew their history, people who knew their civics. You got your fiance?
No, I can't rap.
I mean, the ignorance of today's children is, you're not talking 2 generations, you're talking more than that. Because you've got to start, and I was going to ask you this, education in this country just absolutely sucks, and it has been bad.
Get rid of the Department of Education.
Yeah.
It has done nothing but feed a patronage system for a bunch of folks that make 6-digit figures.
Dumb down our
And
kids.
dumb down
Dumb
our
down the
kids.
kids.
Absolutely.
Bring that money back to the local community so they can keep a tighter look on who is educating the
Have
children,
you-
what they're doing.
Have you gone on any other campuses?
Well,
Not college campuses?
I've been at Hampton University.
Well, that's Hampton.
Well, I can tell you for right now that you have a bunch of children growing up in this country that don't believe in this system because
They don't
they're,
believe it. They don't know what the word free means.
well, they do. They just don't think that the people educating them always know what they're talking about. Because I would watch Hampton University students going, look, what do I need to do so I can live a decent life? I want to have a job that makes something. I want to do something. And they're asking this to their college professors. And I'm watching one by one a college professor, and not all of them. I don't want to bag Hampton University because I've met a few really good professors there also. But they're looking for wisdom. They're looking for somebody to tell them, and they don't want to hear from the adults and from their teachers how they did it. Because now you're just patting yourself on the back and beating your chest, you know? They don't want to hear that. They want to hear from people saying, look, this is maybe how it worked for me, but I'm telling you what you're going to see because I can see what the system is right now. And this is what you need to do, and this is the things you need to be concerned about. And too many professors talking about how they achieved and how they succeeded in their environment, but not the challenges that these young folks are about to enter with a workforce that has a high unemployment rate and advice about how they're going to make it. That's what they're looking for. The youth want to know how their generation is going to make it, not how past generations did. Because their challenges are different than the challenges that I face, and different from the challenges that you all here face. They're not the same. They're absolutely not.
Well, if you want votes down that part of the world, you gotta hit the campuses. You gotta convert these minds of mush. Because the old folks, the only way you can change them is when their pocketbook starts hurting, and then they just, you've seen it now. They voted for Obama and they're going, holy hell, what's happened to my money? Now they're flipping it over again. The young kids, you want elected down that part of the world, you gotta hit the young kids. That's just all there is to it.
You also have to fight against the local board of education
Yeah,
and
well,
whatnot, because they're
I don't
the
know,
ones that actually set the agenda for
that
some
whole
of these
school, got fired. It's starting up.
This is,
Central